All right. Hello, everyone. Christ is risen. All right. So with us today, we have the TheSyrianSeeker, who's with us briefly, and Mohammed Aurelius.
Hi.
Thank you. Yeah. So let's do, again, for those who might not be familiar yet, let's do a little quick intro. Would you like to start us off, Mohammed? Tell us a little about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm currently, well, Christian, but I've been a Christian only for 6 months now. I've been Muslim for almost 27 years. Then I was atheist for 3 years, and it's really sucked. And so I finally found Christ after seeing a repetitive dream of a hooded man that told me to be reborn. And I read, as I went to church and I read John, I found in the story of Nicodemus the birth from the spirit and the birth from the flesh that Jesus spoke about, how to be reborn. And that was, for me, that was my sign. It was my because I had struggled a lot in my life, and I reached a point where I felt that the only way to heal, the only way to overcome, was to be reborn. And so that was my first line, getting into Christianity, and I took it and I kept going, and I'm loving it so far. But right now, I would like to really educate people, not specifically to hate Muslims or to, kind of, because Muslims are ignorant mostly, and ignorance is really good for them. But the reality is, if they want to really free themselves, make their countries thrive, I believe that they are better following the words of Christ. everything in the everything in the Quran is everything in Islam is basically a copy paste from Christianity. So go back to the original. Muhammad basically plagiarized everything. So that's what I want to the message that I want to spread, and also warn the West, warn Christians everywhere, warn even non-Christians about the dangers of radical Islam and Islamism, which is the alliance between political Islam and well, the politics and the politics wing of Islam and the Islam practice itself, and that's it's very incompatible with the Western culture. It's very incompatible with really anything. It can only a Muslim and a country that is governed by Sharia, governed by Islam, really cannot coexist with any other unless you really water it down. So these are things that not a lot of people are talking about, and so we would like to really talk about it in details and discuss it with you guys.
Right. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah. And again, enough cannot be said what apostates from Islam have to endure, even to take that step, even if they're not even going into another religion, especially Christianity, going into atheism or what have you. Leaving Islam is like trying to leave the mafia or Freemasonry. They want you in for life, and if you want to get out, you have to pay for that with your life.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. SyrianSeeker, would you like to tell us a little about yourself for those who are not familiar?
Sure, yeah. So I got some background noise, but I will do my best to tell my story. So I was Muslim for 5 years, not too long, but enough. So I thought I wanted to be a Quran teacher. I thought I wanted to learn fiqh. I thought I wanted to go to Egypt, all this stuff. And eventually I read too many hadiths, basically. Learned about too many of the people who were saying things in the hadiths. And I learned too much at the time. So we're at the point where I learned that Jews and Christians are replaced with Muslims. And that really made me think about, well, why not accept, the ransom of Christ then? If, my friends who are Christian and Jewish will be put in my stead. So, yeah, that's what happened exactly, is that a lot of learning happened, a lot of, languages. For a brief time, I completely was not atheistic, but agnostic for about almost a year, trying to find the differences between Judaism and Islam, but from a critical standpoint. And I ended up realizing that most of what comes from Judaism into Islam was taken, and also the Orthodox Christians had a very big influence on Islam. So that started my journey to Orthodoxy.
Yeah. I mean, that's a whole stream or several streams in itself.
Yes,
touching that. Yeah.
Exactly. But it's that realization of the character of, the Prophet of Islam versus Jesus Christ, who is, the most perfect person, literally. But Muslims call, Muhammad the most perfect. So whatever. Don't want to get into that either.
Yeah, we're going to Syrian. We're going to talk about the use of contradictions in Islam, where it's a religion of peace, but it's not really a religion of peace. Muhammad is the best example of conduct, and he's not really an example of conduct, and it's and so on. The list goes on of contradicting statements.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So speaking of contradictions, all right, let me share this video. You may have already seen it. And just bear with me. There's a reason I'm sharing this. speaking of contradictions and mass media rhetoric and dialectics, as some call it, I call it being split-tongued. Yeah, conundrums.
Yeah.
At any rate, all these things. All right, so let's take a look. Oops, let's try that again.
Hello, Americans. This is Natasha from Russia, and we want to thank you for all your sanctions, for taking away from our country Coca-Cola, KFC, McDonald's, and all that shit. We understand that you take care of our healthiness. Healthy. And that's why we'll be stronger and more beautiful and without fat. So we take care of you too. And that's why we cut our gas. So you have to walk by foot instead of using your cars. Don't thank you. Don't say thank you. Friendship. I'm so sorry. I have to go to feed my bear and drink vodka and play balalaika right now. See you later. From Russia with love.
Okay. Yeah. So that's comical, but so that came out a couple of years ago when the Ukraine-Russia war, quote unquote, started. I mean, another yet centuries-old war that somehow just started, according to mass media, and it was very convenient for them because there's a lot of things going on, including people that pushed the lethal serums onto people, being taken to court, being held accountable for those things, lockdown, and so on. But yeah, speaking of which, mass media, of course, used a centuries-old war that just started as a, let's call it a red herring, to distract and to claim that that is the reason why people are economically struggling. It had nothing to do with the lockdown of 3 years and going of 2 weeks to quote unquote to flatten the curve. So yeah, that's how we're going to start the stream, and that's the thing about all this didactic, split-tongued conundrums that mass media pushes on us that are diabolically backward, the exact opposite of reality. Sorry,
Very
Serpico, you
interesting.
have something to add to that?
Yeah. They by the way, they rely on your reality check being broken, so that because these conundrums, these contradictions, they don't really work unless you have a broken reality check.
Right. I mean, it's like, again, exactly. They have to first silence the truth, all the censorship that they're doing, and then they can successfully supplant the truth, the reality, with this virtual reality, the opposite of reality. And by the way, I encourage everyone to look this up. It's the Satanic Church of California, the Satanic Rite. Their goal is, quote, uncreation, end quote, which means that they want to do the exact opposite of what Scripture prescribes, the Ten Commandments, and the things that are taught in the Gospels. So, I don't know, just like with Islam, that's the exact opposite. We'll touch on that too. And all this mass media, viral, buzzworthy rhetoric, especially of the 21st century, is it a coincidence that it has the exact opposite meaning of what it alleges? And in essence, instills these beliefs, these diabolically backward beliefs, into individuals' minds and therefore, by extension, into cultures worldwide. Any thoughts on that? I mean, that's a mouthful, right? I don't know if I got that out right.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's it's a sort of indoctrination, but it's well, for the liberals, it's not a religious indoctrination like it's in Islam. It's instead an ideological indoctrination. And as Nicodemus said, they create this virtual reality and you accept it unconditionally or else. And this sort of statement or else is it basically just tells you that there is no logic, there is no reason, there is no really solid basis to the belief, but it's repetitiveness. Just repeat the lie until you believe it.
Right. So let me share this meme. I've created some memes. Oh, sorry, go ahead. SyrianSeeker, did you have something you want to add to that?
Oh, memes.
Yeah. Was that it? All right. Okay, so let's do that. Let's do the first one. Okay. So all right. Yeah, I mean, this might be silly. I apologize if it's silly or whatever, but back then it was quite relevant, and not many people were saying anything or being allowed to say anything. So the first thing that were one of the biggest things we had during the lockdown a few years ago was the social distancing. And it's interesting that we talked about the W yesterday, and how that also phonetically would be Vav in Hebrew, and the Hebrew characters also have a numerical value. The numerical value of Vav is 6, and therefore the World Wide Web, the World Wide Web, numerically equals 666 in Hebrew. However you want to take that. But it's also interesting that they always put the W in front of things, and they always use the number 6 as a benchmark, as a goal, as the pinnacle measurement of something, which is fascinating too. And by the way, I also encourage people to look and do your own research, as I say, into Motorola. Motorola was the company that created cell phones. Their standard, when they became a consultation firm, their standard for maximum efficiency for corporations, I felt like I was back in class yelling over my students. Sorry, SyrianSeeker. So Motorola's, they became a consultation firm after they stopped creating cell phones, and their corporate standard that they were teaching others was called Sigma 6, 96.66% maximum efficiency. How in the hell do you come up with that number? I mean, again, look at something for yourself. You want to call it conspiracy theory, tinfoil hat wearing, that's on you. But this is all vetted. But let's talk about something. I mean, I was going to save this later, but I guess I'm chomping a little at the bit. Actually, you know what? Let's go down this list. Yeah, I don't want to get veer off. But we're going to talk about a couple of things that are government released documents. The things that were other people were trying to, they were on the in. They knew about it. They were trying to warn other people about it, but they were being mocked. Tinfoil hat wearers and conspiracy theorists and living in your mother's basement and all these, mass media parroting, slander, or ad hominem attacks to discredit these people and their message. And now the government has declassified their documents as according to law. And you can see what they were saying was true. Well, we'll get into that. But all right. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah. Oh, I thought you had something. All right. So divisive distancing is actually what it was. It wasn't social distancing. There wasn't anything social about it. It was quite antisocial. And now all the experts, and even then, while they're being silenced, are saying how damaging that is to the psyche, to the individual, never mind to culture, to society.
It did, by the way, mess me up like real good. It was the reason when I was atheist and my mental health was really degrading very rapidly with the help of the nihilism of atheism. But not being able to go out, not being able to work, being off work, it was really damaging. And it's like, you think about, was it really worth it? Because the death rate was was less than 0.5%, and you could have just kept.
Let me interject there.
Yeah.
Just for the
Yeah.
commie Nazi pagan censors. This is according to the CDC, the VAERS reports. So this is from the government agency itself. The statistic you just gave.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
But yeah, I mean, it destroyed. It shut down. They shut down the entire world economy, and instead of just asking the elders, those who were more susceptible, susceptible, to the virus, instead of asking them to stay, they asked everyone, and it was very disastrous.
Yeah. So I don't want to get too much into that topic. I did like about a 4-hour give or take stream on those and shared all those evidences. And YouBoob allowed all of it. Either it got under the radar, or it was, they couldn't deny it. But when I shared the testimony of Dr. Erickson out of California, who was not only a practicing doctor, but a virologist, all of a sudden I got banned. I don't know if it was because I was insisting that we have Nuremberg 2.0 or not, but anyway, at any rate, I encourage people to go on other platforms where that's still allowed to see that. It's titled, When Will 2 Weeks to Flatten the Curve Ever End? That's the title of it. When will 2 weeks to flatten the curve ever end? It's on Rumble and other platforms as well. Yeah, so I'm sorry, I cut you off there. Or yeah, because I wanted to change the subject. I don't want to spend too much, and I don't want this to get zapped before we cover all these topics that I want to cover.
Yeah.
Let's save the good, juicy stuff for the end, as they say. Yeah. So also pro-choice. Again, that's a stream or several streams in itself. But how in the hell does choice become an argument? I mean, choice is a part of life. It's like breathing. How is that an argument? What's there to argue about when it comes to choice? But of course, that's a red herring. Instead of saying what they actually mean, they're pro-abortion, and they didn't even say abortion. They say the procedure. Yeah, they argue about pro-choice, and unfortunately, successfully do so, and thanks to mass media. Anybody want to put in their 2 cents on the pro-choice argument or rhetoric?
Sure, yeah. I think the idea of pro-choice is interesting because it's kind of like it became something to rally behind instead of a personal thing,
Yeah,
First it was, I am a woman who has, maybe a pregnancy that is compromised or the baby won't live, and it's my choice whether or not this happens, because if this happens, I can't save the baby, but I might be harmed myself, which is also in Judaic laws that if a woman could die because of a pregnancy, it's sorry, I almost got ran over by a truck.
Wow, sorry, dude.
That's okay.
God forbid. It happens. God bless you.
Yeah, some guy did a U-turn. He immediately just went right next to me. I'm like on a 2-wheel kind of thing. So it became very interesting. It became a political movement that some people rally behind who don't even have children. I don't know if you noticed that. So the idea of people who are gay or trans or other do your own thing, but still they rallied behind this thing. even though they themselves could not make that choice.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't want to get off on like I mean that like I said is a stream or several streams in itself, but
Yeah.
it definitely when it comes to what you just touched on, it's like the fox who lost his tail. You know, misery
Yeah.
loves company, and so those people that have abortions go out there and become fanatics of trying to get everyone else to do the same, so they can feel justified in their behaviors.
There's also the I've seen this in my own like personal. I know people not gonna say, but you know that who just get like abortions just because, like not even, oh, do I want to keep the baby? Like, no, I can't keep this baby. It's not happening at all.
Yeah,
And
it's
so
trendy.
that will happen.
Yeah.
And they take the feeling out of having children, which I personally never really like, because children are a blessing, but also even in my own life, this happened to me out, perhaps I won't explain names or anything, but
Please don't. Yeah.
I had my kid very young. I did not want to have children at that age, but I trusted in God and I had my kid, and he's, you know, I'm very happy that he's, you know, here. It turned from something that was very hard into a blessing. And I think people who don't have faith or don't believe in anything just completely don't look at it that way. They're just like, oh, it's a hindrance. Well, how could another person coming into being be a hindrance?
Yeah,
Well,
no, it's about convenience almost.
Yeah.
It's just it's reduced simply to convenience. Do I want it? Do I not want it? It's never taking into account that this is life, that this is you know, someone who could be and could be someone, and yeah.
And the amount of regret that I've heard from even my own friends who have done stuff like this it's really sad.
Yeah.
I mean, even again, perhaps not explaining, but like we had a miscarriage at one point too, and it was very sad. There's nothing we could have done about it, but we still think about who that child would have been, you know?
Yeah.
And my wife still gets sad about it sometimes, and I'll comfort her.
Yeah.
And you know,
Thank you for sharing that, man. Like yeah, that's
there's a lot of
intense.
cars near me. Give me a second.
Yeah, so moving on to the next thing, and definitely we should do a stream on that. Several, and I welcome anyone else who wants to join that panel. Please, either contact me or just come on up through my stream, or let me know in chat. I'll be happy to bring you up. Or any stream for that matter. Okay, so the other thing was the multiculturalism. We'll get into that more a little later, especially with these days how it's being used to promote and empower this historical mass migration of Muslims or Islamization of Christian nations. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's exactly that. In essence, what it is actually ethno cleansing. It's the supplanting of Christian societies, and there's nothing inclusive about that. It's quite the opposite. It's genocide. It's ethnic cleansing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then the whole Islamophobia, homophobia. Look, I'm not going to speak for everyone else, but let me be frank. It's not that sodomites make me scared. No, sodomites make me want to vomit. Okay, I know that's blunt and harsh. Too bad. I think the behavior is disgusting, including when heterosexuals do it. You know, the whole anal and oral relations, as Bill Clinton put it. You know, yeah, that's a problem. Okay. Yeah, so TheSyrianSeeker has to drop out. Let me give you the floor here, TheSyrianSeeker. Do you have any closing thoughts before you take off? Oh, or maybe I hope he's safe. Still across the street. All right. So yeah, he's gonna be dropping out in a minute. He's okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me move. move on, did you want to add anything to that, or did you want to touch it? No
Oh,
pun
I
intended.
was going to touch on the previous point, the inclusive multiculturalism lie. It's the thing is, like only Christianity is being asked to compromise. The Christians are asked to compromise their faith, and it happened over and over. It happened in the Arab world. Syria was mostly Christian. And it's just it's kind of an obsession with Muslims that they want to convert Christians. And but yeah, Christianity is being the primary target of this inclusive multiculturalism. It's really not getting pushed on any Islamic country. When you ask, when you tell someone why doesn't Saudi Arabia, for example, build churches? Oh, it's they're a Muslim country. It's their culture. Okay, well, why don't you say the same thing about Christians? Why do you force Christians to, and it's maybe if you do let in migrants from other parts of the world, and they're going to go exist, and they're going to be 10-20% that they will practice their faith and they will not interfere with yours, then and that's the case with Hindus, with Sikh. They do not try to overbreed, or they try to overbreed you. They over reproduce you. So it's actually an agenda in Muslim mindset that they want the caliphate, and for the caliphate to happen, they need to reach 50%. They need to reach 60%, and the moment you exceed half, that's it. It becomes a Muslim country, and at that point, they will they will base. There is a funny thing, talking about sodomy and the heterosexually challenged. There is yeah. So there is this. A city, not city, it's a county in the United States, and this county is full of this LGBTQ. And basically, what happened was Muslims started to, well, that's what they do. They build an enclave. They try to overtake, and so they became, at some point, they became the majority of that county. And what happened is that they voted against putting the pride flag, the LGBTQ flag. They voted against in the city. They voted against putting it inside the government buildings. And the LGBTQ, they were also like very. They were also a lot in that county, and they started, saying, "What the hell? What's going on?" And it's the same, that they started egging their houses,
Wow.
and yeah. So the LGBTQ, they will get what they deserve for teaming up with with Islamists, especially like on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and just generally giving platform to Islamists, to practice their their basically eradication of the Christian faith. And so so that's exactly what happened when they became the majority. They started becoming tyrants. And so, go ahead.
No, I was just going to reinforce your point about, without even going to Quran, Hadith, Tafsir, or whatever. Just my personal experience, and you may or may not have more experiences to share than I would on the topic. But yeah, when I was volunteering and helping with the historical mass migration of Muslims to the West, I had seen this guy who was basically beat up by a mob. Let's call it a small mob compared to the rest of the people around him. I mean, they were coming in definitely hundreds, thousands per day. That's no
Wow.
exaggeration. Yeah. So yeah, at any rate, it was, I don't know how many people, let's say 20, 30, no more than 50 people. It was like about 20, 30 of them that beat up on this one guy, and they rushed him over to the medical trailer. This was at a border crossing into Fyrom, into Skopje, which
Skopje?
yeah,
What?
yeah, they call it Northern Macedonia or Republic or some kind of
Okay,
fascist.
okay.
Speaking of diabolical rhetoric there, but let's not get into that. That's a whole other stream in itself. The encroachment and the takeover of Greece. But anyway, yeah. So basically, the guy was queer, and they were, beating him up as according to their religion, quote unquote religion.
Yeah. Well,
And
he's lucky they didn't just take him off, throw him off the building.
yeah, well, the story doesn't end there. So he comes out, and the mob's waiting for him.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and so basically, yeah, he just, and I was standing there, I was watching this because I was in awe. I was not, again, I was raised in America with mass media beliefs, so I had the exact opposite idea of Islam. I mean, I'm Greek too, so I wasn't completely stupid, but still bought into the mass media rhetoric. So, at any rate, I was standing there, and he looks at me across the thing, and then he looks at the guys, and then he just kind of jumps on them, so to speak, and starts hugging them and kissing them. Basically, at that point, he just had this, where he's like, "Screw it, I'm just going to go out in the blaze of gay glory." And yeah, I mean, they started beating up on him again and all that. But anyway, that's all I caught of that. I left soon after that, and what happened was that, yeah, that night, basically, I found out the next morning. I went there the next morning. That night, they took the guy, and there was like a train rail above. They hung him on the trail rail to execute him, to set him on fire, as their religion says, right?
Holy shit.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I'll never forget how, when he came out of the medical trailer, like, he looked me in the eyes, and then, he jumped on the guys and started beating up on him. And again, in that mass, that melee, again, I saw him in the eyes. And so for me, it's like a haunting Mary, looking a dead man in the eyes,
Oh my God. You know about there was this I forgot the name of this the city in the United States. Not Brooklyn, not I forgot the name of it, but it's it's known to have a high percentage of queers, basically. And there was this gay bar, basically, that got this Muslim guy just got inside and just started shooting the hell out of them.
Wow.
And but yeah, I mean, the thing is, we have our differences. We don't approve. We are disgusted by sodomy, but we don't burn people. We don't
Right.
we don't execute. And it's it's just the execution methods in Islam is even worse. It's not even just putting you, giving you a mercy bullet. It's the torment, and it reflects really on the nature of God, because in that there is a verse in the Quran, where Allah basically has this discussion with the people, the disbelievers who are in hell, and they tell him, please let us out. We're not, and they're getting burned and their skin gets regenerated, and they're getting, a lot of torment, and it's going to be forever. And then, they said, well, let us out, and we're going to believe in you this time. And he says, well, eat shit, basically, like stay where you are, and it's just a very sadistic God, and that sadism reflects on the Muslim behavior. They think that they can be divine, that they can be close to God, and be absolutely ruthless. And so it's it's just a very broken, very twisted way of thinking. That
Now, yeah, you touched on another split-tongued rhetoric there. The whole God Allah thing. It's funny how
Allah is merciful. They say He's merciful, but
no,
He's really.
Let me finish. So so it's funny how the Taoists will sit there and interplay God and Allah. Like any other time, it's Allah, not God. But then when they're talking to the Westerners, it's God. But then when you say, hey, you know what, is God Trinitarian? Is he, is Jesus Christ divine? And all these things, all of a sudden it's not that. So clearly their Allah is not God. But they'll sit there and they'll try to do that. They'll do that interplay when they're trying to fool others into thinking that Allah is God. So why I'm saying that? Because, well, when they're doing these evil things, they are doing the bidding of Allah, not God, but they are doing the bidding of Allah. They're right about that. Because evidently Allah is Satan.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, just had to throw that in there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But yeah, there is consequences to believing in a God that is, absolutely satanic, and that's what Allah is. Everything in the scriptures is, everything nice, everything good, is stolen from Christianity and Judaism, but the savagery, it's most of it is just Muhammad's invention.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's go on to the next one. Healthcare. So, yeah, healthcare is a big topic. We're going back to the 1990s with Bill Clinton and what they called benefits. They were calling it simply "quote unquote" benefits, and that was when, for the first time, U.S. citizens were forced to buy insurance for employees, and employees themselves also had to pay. So basically, citizens, anyone who was working, also had to buy insurance or pay half of it, taken out of their salaries directly, and also employers had to pay for their employees' insurance out of their revenue, out of however they make their income. So that again didn't help healthcare. It made it worse, and that was in the 90s. And then 20 years later, Barack Hussein Obama comes along, and I gotta say, again, being fooled, I was actually a fan of his while he was running for president. And when I realized that he was actually, I predicted his plan to 2005, I'd started a movie script, a screenplay on exactly. Well, this was the background, at least, that there would be a corporate entity that would convince the U.S. government to force Americans to buy health insurance, and I did that in 2005. 5 or so years later, Barack Hussein Obama is implementing that, and that was called Obamacare by some. They just call it healthcare, or healthcare benefits or healthcare. just like Clinton's thing was
Mm.
benefits. Obama's thing was healthcare. And that was like, now every citizen has to buy healthcare. They already were, but jobless, if you're jobless, you still have to, you're accountable for that. And again, that also didn't improve healthcare. It, of course, made it worse. And that's an extortion racket. It's it's a government mandated extortion.
Yeah, they do that as well for auto insurance in Canada. It's mandated as well.
Yeah. It's so even in socialist countries, they're pushing health insurance. So it's just disturbing.
Mm.
So yeah, the quote unquote vaccine, which there was a cure that was vetted by frontline doctors and so on, and we see that. I'm going to say the name later, and again, I encourage those who haven't seen it. When will 2 weeks to flatten the curve ever end on my other platforms? But yeah, there were already cures. There already are cures for their fabricated gain of function prions. But then they come along with these serums that were tested, and according to some online. Anyway, I don't want to get into this rabbit hole, but basically, these serums were already proven to be lethal, but they were forced on populations under all kinds of penalty, just like the lockdown was. And yeah, there was anything but a vaccine. I mean, you can argue it was a vaccine. You can argue that, even though the gain of function prions were never shared with peers of the scientific world. They were kept from that. But anyway, yeah, it was a toxic GMO serum, basically. GMO because there was also, again, this came out in court cases where, speaking of abortion, material from abortions was being used in the vaccines. Fetal tissue.
Wow.
The quote unquote vaccines. And yeah, the one scientist that was on stand said, yeah, well, the Catholics will call me evil for this, and then I'm going to hell. Well, I'm gladly going to hell. I'm like, whoa, it's so creepy. Again, you can see that clip in that stream that I did. 2 weeks. When will 2 weeks to flatten the curve ever end? Yeah, let me just keep on going to open-minded. Okay, this open-minded is going back a couple of decades at least, before the turn of the century. And this is how everything was normalized. Okay, this was absolute embedded ad hominem attacks. Basically saying, hey, you know what? If you don't agree with the media rhetoric, then you're quote unquote closed-minded. You're stupid. You're ignorant. You're a redneck. You're a hillbilly. You're all these things. You're now these days you're a domestic terrorist. You're extreme right. You're all these labels, all these slanderous defamation, all this slanderous defamation being pushed by mass media, and they're not being held accountable, and it's been insanely detrimental. All of it.
Yeah, it's been detrimental really to freedom of speech, because you get shut down for your opinion by just using a word or two to sum you up,
Yeah. Let's get into some of these other things. I've got another meme, and I don't want to bore you guys with memes, but I just want to at least go over all these different little things that have become part of our, what is the 1984 term used? Doublespeak? It's become part of our doublespeak. Oh, there's a word for you. Doublespeak. That's from the novel 1984 by Eric Blair, George Orwell.
Mm-hmm.
I encourage, have you read that one?
No, not really.
Okay, they've done a movie on it. I haven't watched the movie. I hate to say, as someone who's doing exposing Hollywood, I definitely need to watch that one. It was a TV movie. It might have been, but anyways, I'll watch that too. But I encourage you to at least watch the movie. I don't know how accurate it is. I haven't seen it, but the book is good. It's referred to a lot. If you hear a reference about Big Brother, it comes from that novel. But also something he talked about is how the TVs are watching us, the computer monitors, the cell phone monitors, the mobile computer monitors are watching us, recording everything we do. And yeah, he talked about doublespeak, which is what we're addressing today. Doublespeak. Retrospect. I should get that in my title. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. All right. So let's take a look at these. Let's make that bigger. Okay. Without reading the intro. Okay. So progressive. You've heard that a lot. Progressive is a good thing. What does progressive mean to you when you hear progressive? And the audience members, if you want to take a shot at it, what does progressive mean to you? And if you're watching this later, put it in the comment section. What does progressive mean to you? To me, I would say it's a massive top-down effort to culturally digress, not progress, but digress Paleolithic standards, like the paleo diet. That's progress. Eating the same, having the same diet, alleged diet of cavemen. That's somehow progressive. That's progress. What? I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of Islamic, right? Like, talking on both sides of your mouth and contradicting yourself left and right. No pun intended.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So it's devoid of appropriate graciousness, frank concern for all others, and decorum, being progressive in all reality. And we've seen this now that it's insanely overt. I mean, anyone who's denying that is an outright liar. No one's that stupid. Open-minded. We just kind of covered that. If you're not absolutely passionately and unequivocally invested in endorsing and existing for mass media's ideologies, then you must be silenced, as we see it today, ridiculed, and ostracized immediately. That's open-minded. That's the reality. Otherwise, even though it's supposed to mean something else, that's frank.
Yeah, but I mean, it also means that the thing is that when you say you're open-minded, maybe I'm open-minded about having a burger instead of pizza. I'm open-minded about going to the zoo instead of going to the park. And so yeah, like flexibility is sometimes okay, sometimes not. But the way leftists use it is that you must accept the unacceptable, and so so there was a video that I saw, and it was really disgusting. This trans. Okay, so it's a woman. She did basically she removed her breast.
Oh wow.
So she removed her breast, and she was pretending to be a man, pretending to be a woman. So it's like a 3 layers of madness, almost. And she walks into the stage, and she has a bag, and in that bag was the severed breast.
Wow.
And it's like, yeah, so that's the sort of open-minded that they want you to be.
Wow.
It's not just flexibility; it's accepting madness, accepting what what needs to be sent to the mental asylum.
Yeah. I mean, that's perfect. I'm glad you touched on it too, because I mean, that's a topic that is not part of my academic research. but it's not also something that I include essentially in my list of ethics that mass media these pseudo morals that they've pushed on us. Because I mean, basically, it's just a whole thing in itself, and that's the psychosis that they pushed. They made being crazy look cool, and that's by design. You know, the list goes on as far as examples of that, because that is the conditioning. Part of the conditioning is to habitually, relentlessly bombard you with the same thing over and over again. But yeah, the Joker, which was came out a few years ago, that was insanely popular, and that's exactly what the Joker does. He was suicidal. That's another thing they push on us: suicide, which goes as according to the green agenda, but also, yeah, just how cool they made psychosis look, and that's
Yeah.
so.
You know, that you can commit suicide legally in Canada.
Yeah. Yeah, it
Yes.
wasn't that far long ago where Dr. Kevorkian was held accountable. Now it's being implemented and encouraged by not only mass media but governments. It's disturbing.
Yeah.
And
So
pagan.
yeah, and it's just complete demolishing all Christian values, basically, replacing them with God knows what. It's no one knows what it is. It's just you know, and that's the thing when you don't believe in God, when you don't have a faith, you know, when you don't have values, you know, that's what's happened. You're just like a, you know, boat, and the wind takes you wherever the wind blows, and you know, that's not a very healthy state of being in this world. You need to be you need to be somehow grounded. You need to follow some rules, but you know, don't be dogmatic. Don't over, you know, kind of drown yourself in the rules. But at the same time, you need to have some rules. And you know, with Islam, you get so many rules. Wipe your butt with 3 stones. Do enter the mosque with your right feet, and it's just too many rules. And the liberalism is the very opposite. Is no rules, free for all, and just chaos, anarchy. And neither one is a good way to be in this world.
Yeah. Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. You know, I will say that I'm a big believer in following the rules. I don't think you could, well, let me rephrase that. I don't want to misspeak, but I think the way I understand it, I don't want to get too much into theology, but this is the way I understand Christ's approach to being like a scribe. He was not pointing out that, you know, they're following the law and that's a problem, but that they were hypocrites and that's the problem. That they lost their path, that they were so invested in the laws that, well, the laws were made to help people. And so if it's a Sabbath and you're starving and you don't have your hands washed, but you have no other option, you're not going to do like allegedly some did on October 7th in Israel and not answer the phone when the alarms are going off, or not, you know, whatever the case may be, whatever actually happened there. But, you know, yeah, you're going to use your common sense. You're going to be an adult about things and do what's right, what's obvious. But that's my understanding of it. You know.
Yeah, I don't mean that you should not follow the rules.
I got that.
I'm saying that you should follow, you know, well, the faith. You know, if you pick the faith that's from God, that's was made for humans, that was made to work with our nature, then you will find that the rules are appropriate. But with Islam, it's just too many rules, and most of them are useless. And with liberalism, it's just a free for all, and you could do whatever.
Yeah, and it's interesting that I've met some Persians, some Iranians that also left Islam, and they tend to be very secular, and they completely wash their hands of religion and laws and traditionalism and all these things, right? So
Yeah, Islam just it like once you leave it, it takes everything from you. It takes away everything. It takes your spirituality. It takes because it's not. It's a very toxic ideology. Imagine if you were married and your marriage was like very, very toxic, very harmful to your career, harmful to your mental health, harmful to everything.
wait
If
a minute.
you
Have you met my wife? No, I'm just kidding. I don't have a wife. I don't have a wife, people. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, if you do have like a very toxic relationship, and then that relationship breaks, well, you're still gonna get a heartbreak. You lived with that person for a very long time. You got used to that person, and you just you apart. You were finally departed from each other, and the you kind of in a way it's not masochism, it's but you kind of miss the suffering, you kind of miss the drama, which is strange, but it's the same thing. It's you get with Islam you're tormented, and once you leave that faith, you're left with emptiness, and it's like a general disdain for religion. I mean, you just that sadistic god of Islam, called Allah. That god is makes you kind of don't really want any sort of god in your life.
Wow.
And yeah, and it's the same with there is these men who like they get divorced, and the wife takes everything, and they just start hitting women, and then there is like this woman that the husband is a bastard, and then the same thing, she started hating all
Like my
men.
joke, just like my joke a moment ago, that actually comes from some really bad relationships I had. So yeah, I wish once I put it, I was like, "Oops, did I just say that?" But yeah, I mean,
But yeah, these when you get accustomed to something, it's really hard to even if it was harming you, even if it was not being very productive in your life. The moment you just kind of leave it, it kind of haunts you. And so many ex-Muslims, they're just really haunted, especially Iranians, Saudis, Afghanis, Pakistanis. These are the most radical Muslim countries. Saudi Arabia not anymore, but these are the most radical countries. And these people, if you meet ex-Muslim, very likely agnostic, or most of them atheists. Anti-religion, and the other thing is just how much you get brainwashed to hate Christianity and Judaism, and that sort of hatred follows you, even into atheism. And so so these sort of toxic faiths, toxic ideologies like Islam, you don't walk a free man. It's a process to really break free.
right? Yeah, and yeah. So yeah, we'll get to that. But let me just say that you don't sound very quote positive right now, end quote. You,
Yeah.
where's your positivity, man? Why are you being so pessimistic, man? Anyway, so yeah,
Yeah.
positive. This is how positive is used, right? Anything that's cerebrally challenging, requiring thinking outside of the box, and letting go of denial via bad coping strategies, even if momentarily, instinctively triggers the knee jerk reaction of hostile, derogatory slander, or the frantic need to apathetically isolate. That's being positive. And that's basically what I'm describing here is what we call liberals, the left or whatever. Mass media Moonies or common Nazi pagans more recently. Um, yeah, so basically they'll get in your face, they'll start yelling, pushing their quote unquote, it's their ideology. They're not parodying mass media at all. No. And right, they insult you, they get angry with you, they're pushing this fascism, ethnic cleansing on you, and then all of a sudden you're the one that's not being positive. Why? Because I'm Christian? Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. But by the way, it is in the liberalism, there is a false positivity. Let's call it that. It's it's nice to be positive. Pessimism is not the good kind of mental state, but at the same time, the positivity that they're proposing is a delusion.
Right. Exactly.
You see what I'm saying? It's a delusional positivity. It's
right.
An over optimism, and hey, Islam has problems. Islam hates women. Islam is really incompatible, with Western civilization. And no. Why are you being so negative? They're cool. They're nice. It's like stop looking at life with a very dark lens. And yeah, it's a forced false positivity.
Right, it literally forced. So we touched on this in another stream about this new trend of literally, and they talked about this in my favorite movie, Good Will Hunting. They did a small scene where people will go and voluntarily get themselves hypnotized. In fact, at university, they invited someone to introduce the entire campus community, 50,000 students, give or take, to be exposed to hypnosis in order to get over their problems, which is literally brainwashing yourself and to pretend that everything's okay. I mean, how that's psychosis. You're going towards psychosis, towards, like you said, delusion, denial, cognitive dissonance, as they call it these days, to be able to cope. That's not how you cope. You deal with your issues. You don't pretend they don't exist, thereby allowing them to fester and get worse.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and as far as this false positivity, they have to force it because they've lost their way. Unfortunately, they lost sheep, or the goats, however you want to look at it. That's biblical, and it's sad when you have this faith, when you're centered on Christ, and you have a regular relationship with God, a regular dialogue, and God therefore directly responds to your prayers. Not every single one, He's not, anyways, but yeah. Then all these things automatically, without you trying, they automatically just dissolve. All of a sudden, you're in God's grace, and you realize the silliness of a lot of these things. Your concern is melted away because you realize you're being taken care of by the Almighty Creator Himself, which is pretty powerful. And even the smallest of things, the hair on your head, is a concern for God. And that sounds like BS, but for those of us that have had a taste of grace, when God showed us that he even cares about the silliest prayers. I mean, there's nothing more powerful and profound and moving. And, when it first happened to me, I literally broke down and fell on my face, as the Bible says. I was just overwhelmed with emotion.
Wow.
So, yeah, the thing is that there's something that you have to experience. And that's the thing. And that's why we work on our relationship with God.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's get back to mass media rhetoric and how it's misled society worldwide, step by step, decade after decade, generation after generation. Equality. Can anyone tell me what that actually means? What is equality? Anyone? What is that supposed to mean? I'm sorry, I'm laughing. It's just the stuff it's like Islam, right? It's just so silly, it's so absurd that you can't help but laugh at it.
Yeah, so there is in the Quran, it says, لا فرق بين عربي ولا أعجمي إلا بالتقوى. There is no difference between an Arab and a non-Arab except by their faith. And it's so basically, so they say there is equality, but there is hidden stuff in it, and there's a lot of there is a lot of hidden little minds in there, and so that so the non-Muslims are not equal, the woman is not equal. There is I forgot where in the Bible, but when Jesus said in Christ there's no difference between a Jew and a Greek,
right.
Between a male and a female. You're all believing in Christ. You are all united, and that's the true quality that the Bible is talking about. That doesn't have hidden meanings. But with Islam, it's you go to the Hadith, and then the two black slaves are worth one Arab slave, according to Mohammed, and the Christians do not get to build churches after the Islamic conquest successfully takes over the nation. Then, well, you as a Christian, you're not allowed, and so. They actually mistranslate that sometimes. They say that it's the purity of the heart. No, it's not the purity of the heart. It's either you're Muslim. So if you're Muslim, then and you're a Muslim and you're a man, then you're equal to you're either a Muslim man. But other than that, you're really not that equal. So it's we're going back to this the conundrum, the contradiction, or the split, the tongue split.
Some people call it, like we said, dialectic, but I don't necessarily agree with that. I would probably call it a conundrum or just contradiction. I mean, I don't know, man. Just what do you call? I mean, it's a shame that we can't find a proper word for all of this, even though it's common.
But yeah, it's really interesting with Islam always.
How about doublespeak? I mean, those that are familiar with George Orwell 1984, they're familiar with doublespeak.
Yeah, doublespeak. Let's call it that.
Yeah. So absolutely.
And it's the same. It's the same. Exactly the connotation. It's the same connotation that liberals use. It's equality, but there is a lot of hidden agenda, a lot of politics involved, and you're really, you're not equal. You can, like, for example, with the liberals, you can be, I can be racist against you as, a non, white skin tone, and then you cannot be racist against me, and and so it's the same thing with Islam. It's that equality, but there is, and it's not. It's written in small letters, like a contract, and you sign yourself into that, and then you find out later what exactly that equality is.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the thumbnail that I put, if you look at the verbiage, and I'll only use some of the verbiage that they use, but I mean, you can see how it's always contradicting. They literally contradict themselves, but when they parrot mass media, they contradict themselves on a regular basis, and sometimes even within the same paragraph, not the same sentence. I mean, it's insane. And again, it's just like the Muslims do. The Muslims do the very same thing. The spirit is the same. The essence is the same. It's all anti-Christian, by the way. And just to emphasize what you're saying and what Give the Gospel is saying here, what the Scripture teaches us, and Jesus Christ illustrates this in so many different ways, that we are all children of God. That we're all children of God. He emphasized that in so many different ways. So he never lies to us. He never says we're equal. He never says a woman is a man and a man is a woman, like these Baal Baphomet worshippers do these days.
No, it's not the equality of saying that you have the same function, because that's what the liberals try to tell you, that we both serve the exact same function, and it's like that image, that trying to make every bead the same color, and just coercing, become all rainbow. Basically, it's just a coerced, a coerced, sort of equality, and but correct me if I'm wrong. I'm still kind of.
You're wrong. Oh, was that too early?
Yeah, but it's I think what it meant by neither a Jew, male or female, bond or free, I believe what it meant is that you're equal in value. Your value in the eyes of God.
Right. We're all God's children.
We're all God's children. Yes, and so we have that potential. And we can live that potential, being the children of God. It's an equal opportunity. It's not an equal. It's not the what is it? There is two words. There is equality. There is equal opportunity and equal outcome.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So the equality in the leftist idea is very twisted. It's not a quality of opportunity, it's a quality of outcome. Because in Christianity, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that if it's a quality of opportunity, that as a child of God, we are children of God. We have that power.
Yeah, personally, I wouldn't frame it that way. And that's why when you started talking, when you started using that, I was like a little look. But then this person, I think this is a conversation you might want to have with your spiritual father. Let me defer you to that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm not an expert in theology, so I don't want to pretend to be. But my personal belief is I would stay away from what I also consider mass media rhetoric. I'm not saying that they're wrong in a certain arena, but I wouldn't equate that scripture verse with that argument. Myself. I could be wrong. I could be off target. I honestly can't say. But I think it should speak for itself, and it does speak for itself, especially when we compare it to its contrast. Again, we're all children of God. The greatest two commandments, all the law hangs on these. Love God with all your being. Love others as you should love yourself, or have respect for yourself. Okay. Compare that to Jews are monkeys and Christians are snakes, or whatever the thing is. How does it go, the folks in chat? What is it? What do the Jews come from? They come from the goats, or according to Islam. Anyways.
Oh, they're monkeys and pigs. I think the Jews are like monkeys and the children are pigs. The Christians are pigs.
Yeah, there you go. So, yeah, quite the different message. Quite the opposite, in fact, as we were saying earlier. So, yeah, I mean, let me just read this because I got it up. Equal pretending those that are different are not, right? And that's disrespectful, in my opinion. I mean, traditional Christianity venerates women, not just a woman, not just the Theotokos, the birth giver, but many female saints. A couple of my favorite saints, you'll see in the outro video, my old intro video, is Mary of Egypt and Catherine of Alexandria, again, Egypt. Two powerhouses. And that's just a couple examples, but great ones.
Mm-hmm.
Allegedly to spare them from oppression. Okay, so pretending those that are different from them are not, allegedly to spare them from oppression, all while oppressing the target populations to do so, and that's equality. All right.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go on to, well, choice we did, but let me just, since I'm covering it, let me go ahead and read it, and if I'm being redundant, forgive me. If a highly advertised and politically supported, insanely profitable nonprofit organization, Planned Parenthood, engages in scandalous illegal genocide black market activity, which they were caught for, and it went out in the court decisions, but the media covered it with yet another red herring because they were trying to, they got busted. There was undercover video of them doing this, selling the pieces of fetal tissue of babies to these organizations, and now we know it ended up in the quote-unquote vax, lethal serums, among other things. Yeah, they were accused. They were, all these horrible things, and they won the court case, and they started suing, rightfully so, these people that defamed them, slandered them, but all that was covered up. Yeah. Then its victims should have the right to further deprive the defenseless babies of their choice. Again, choice is not an argument. We all have choice all the time. Even when you're confronted with a Muslim with all their terrorist weaponry, you still have a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's one that I love. YOLO! Again, this is a little dated, but yeah. Not that long ago, and one of the most influential movies is based on YOLO, called The Bucket List. Yeah, so YOLO was you only live once. Or wait a minute. Yeah, you only live once. You only live once, so why not be suicidal? Or behave as if there's quote-unquote no tomorrow. Like, in other words, if there's no tomorrow, I'm going to do all these crazy things. That's the other mindset mass media pushes. No, not be repentful. If you know you can die, don't be repentful. No. Do all these crazy things. What? Isn't it quite diabolically backward?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like the pro-choice, YOLO basically it hinders your decision making, and it makes you just impulsive, and that's not how it's supposed to be. And yeah, and if you're impulsive, you will be you will be committing sin, not just against yourself but against others. So we need that's a really toxic idea that you only live once, because we're supposed to have some sort of accountability, some sort of there's supposed to be some consequences to our actions, and our actions are supposed to serve some sort of purpose in the grand scheme of things. So it's not just you only live once and go crazy.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Or unless you give me, excuse me, defer to the pagan religions, and you're going to live like to come back as a cricket. You have the all these silly things come back again that way. The cycle of life that they push in educational institutions.
Yeah.
Excuse me, frog in my throat.
That's
all right. Okay, so let's do well, I just mentioned bucket list, the movie, but yeah, we will all die, and that's that. That he just said. So let's get in as much as we can. Yeah, we just covered that. So life doesn't end up as a failure. Isn't that something? You have to do all these deplorable, antisocial things at the very end before you die, or your life is a failure. Well,
Yeah.
yeah. All right, multicultural. We touched on this. All uniquely distinct cultures must be undermined and destroyed, ethnically cleansed, so that they can be supplanted by a carbon copy of one specific country's melting pot disposition with extreme prejudice, no less. Right? Like, for example, Islam comes in, oh, you're an Islamophobe. You've got to be subjugated and, do all these crazy things. And
Yeah.
die.
Did you see? Did you see? You remember that from yesterday? This Muslim guy who stabbed 6 people in Germany. That they were Christians and they were basically talking about Christianity and Islam, and this Islamist basically came and just started stabbing them. And what happened was that the police. And it's a very funny picture. It's tragic. It's a very tragic story, but the picture is funny where the police tackled one of the Christian guys, and actually the Muslim guy with the knife was free, and then he started like stabbing more people, and so that's the thing when you try to rise, when you say no, I'm not, my beliefs, my faith is not going to be undermined by this outside faith. I'm not going to submit, and then the policing in the liberal West basically they attack you, because why, how dare you, how dare you choose to have an autonomy, choose to protect your own, how dare you, you're supposed to accept, you're supposed to melt into the melting pot and maybe die and disappear.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So let's get on to, and I want to tackle this more as we move on. We're definitely going to focus on Islam near the end. Social media, the technologically established and now culturally anticipated mode of extremely limited and often misconstrued means of communication, where online flaming has become the norm. "Quote unquote" trigger. Ah, I triggered you. Ha.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's that whole trigger thing. By the way, trigger is a technical psychological term, and now it's been made weaponized through mass media. Ain't that something? And what is being triggered? Things that have been implemented in your brain by mass media.
Yeah, I'll just tell you something. When they actually use the word trigger, they're misusing it. It's usually a projection. It's like, oh, you're getting triggered, and they're projecting really that they're intolerant. They don't like your faith, and it's like, oh, you're getting triggered because I'm challenging your faith. And it's a projection because they do not tolerate their faith, their ideas to be challenged.
Yeah, long
So
story short.
it's just they think they know psychology, but they really don't know any.
Well, I kind of wonder if they knew. I don't think they know. I think a lot of, I could be wrong, but I think a lot of them don't have no clue that that's an actual psychological term. I think they're just using it. Mass media has.
I'll give you an example. So this is like an actual psychological trigger for my father. So my father gets very nervous. He gets very uncomfortable if you start talking about death. And you can see the change in behavior, and the topic is a little bit of obsession to him. He watches videos about prolonging his life and how to be healthy and all of that. But yeah, it's yeah. So that's there's a girl, for example, that was God forbid, was raped, and then she becomes very very kind of emotionally detached. She the with sex, basically she becomes very fearful of it, very disgusted of it. So that, yeah, so that in that context, yeah, this becomes a trigger, and that's the psychological definition of it.
Yeah.
But they use it. They use trigger to just mock and oh, you cannot you cannot handle the BS that I'm throwing at you. So you're getting triggered, and it's all just a projection. They really haven't figured you out. They really don't know jack shit about you, and it's just an all projection, and it's just the use of the word, a psychological term as trigger.
Right. So in case, just to explain to some audience members that might not be aware. So definitively, a trigger in psychology can be any of the senses that triggers a memory from the past that's forgotten. It could be a buried memory. It doesn't necessarily have to be one, but it's one that's either very happy or very traumatic.
Yeah,
bad.
yeah. So maybe for my father, he had a near-death experience, and after that, he became fearful of death. The girl that got raped, she became yeah. So it triggers disgust, and but yeah, it's related to trauma, and or either it's related to happy memory. And so yeah, that's a good definition.
Yeah. So that's why when they say social media, when you have people running around and the culture is to come online and to start blaming people, to start basically trolling them, as they say now. That's another crazy term. Oh, you're a troll. Huh? I mean, I hate. Anyways, yeah. So basically, just all this malice online is anything but social. It's quite antisocial. And in fact, by the way, if you're spending a lot of time online, being a hypocrite here, you know, how social are you being with your actual physical community, your neighborhood, and so on. By the way. Okay, Pay It Forward, another movie that was really popular that influenced a lot of people. And it still is, this expression is still used in circles today by some people. It basically suggested that all good deeds should require an exponentially expected, it's easy for me to say, trickle down dividend. Okay, in other words, a Ponzi scheme. So basically, you do something because you're expecting to get something back. That doesn't sound like Islam too, by the way. Just putting that out there.
With Islam, it's as you know. I'm not sure if you don't know. If you know, you don't. It's a point system. It's if you pray a certain prayer, you get 10 points. If you pray 5 times a day, you get points, and if you do something wrong, you get like a negative point. And it's here's the kick. There is this verse in the Quran. It says, "Inna al-hasanat yudhibna as-sayyiat." The good deeds erase the bad deeds, and So let's say there is this pedophile, and he goes raping. He doesn't do pedophilia in marriage. He does it outside marriage. But then, before he dies, he goes and he builds a mosque. And so in Islam, you get like almost like you get a free pass almost, to do bad things as long as you're gonna do good things and balance them out.
Yeah. Yeah. For Reliance of the Traveler, the source of Sharia law, or the manual for Sharia law. I should say source, the manual for Sharia law. Yeah, Paul Sutliff over the Sutlifian report. Gosh. And yeah, some Doc also Eric from Across the Crescent discussion group of the gang. They all, they cover this line for line, especially Paul. It's and you just I mean, I don't know, man, it's an experience. I mean, it's one of the things. It's just so it's beyond words. It's like this. It's just so bad. I guess there's a good word. Just simply put, it's just bad. Contradictions and insanity and vileness. Yeah, it just makes no damn sense. But that's what I think about. The whole what's zakat, and all the nonsense, all the Islamic nonsense, man. It's just too much. And I mean, you follow the schematics of it, you can't follow it, and it's always contradicting. Always, like, I mean, it's nothing but contradictions. So
yeah, in Islam, you are expected, to do a buttload of deeds, and then on top of that, it's really overwhelming, and then almost perfection is expected from you. They say, oh, the perfection is just for Allah, but at the same time, a lot is expected from you, and so what happens with Muslims is that they try to live up to the standards and they fail, and so they have this haunting feeling of guilt because guilt is fine. We need a little bit of guilt, to kind of guide our moral actions. But with guilt in Islam is extremely overwhelming, because yes, you're expected to do a lot, and you're expected to avoid a lot of nice things in life. You're not, for example, you're not supposed to listen to music, you're not supposed to dance, you're not supposed to laugh, you're not supposed to prank your friend. Imagine. So there is actually a story where they were going on this battle, and on their way to the battle, or they basically, this guy, he pranked this guy, he scared him, and Prophet Momo, he said a Muslim should not scare his brother, and I thought to myself, it's just a damn prank, you damn fun hater. But yeah, but yeah, it's like a lot is expected, and when you're not able, and you will not be able to meet the standards, no matter what you do, then you're just overwhelmed by guilt, and no one, like there is I'm not sure if it's in John or in Matthew, when Jesus said that like why worry? Why should you worry? The birds do not worry about finding food. The blessing from God, sort of it comes to them, because there's earth is just full of blessings, and so so it's there is more of a relaxed mentality in Christianity, but in Islam you're fear. You suck, and it's like that's what I really liked, about Christianity, is that you're a child of God. God loves you, and you mean so much, and God really wants you. And in Islam, it's like God doesn't really need you. If you don't follow, he will burn the hell out of you. And at the same time, yeah, it's just high expectations, and there is no there is no really it's very unproductive. Why do you think like Muslims, they're 2 billion, and I think there is only like 4 Muslims that ever got a Nobel Prize, and meanwhile, Jews, they're like 20% of the 40% of all Nobel Prize, and so some religions, they're productive. The idea, their ideas are kind of productive in life, and some are just like Islam. They're too unproductive, and you see the results. You see it right in front of you. In the Islamic world, you see poverty. You see lack of development and lack of initiative, and well, no wonder. It's just the whole system is absolutely messed up.
Well, in a nutshell. All right, so another one of my, well, I want to say former favorite movies. It's probably still a guilty pleasure. I haven't seen it in quite a while, but I do remember the opening sequence. It's a conspiracy theory with Mel Gibson when he was younger. I think it's from the 90s. He was basically going on, as a cab driver, going on a rant with his passengers about all these quote-unquote conspiracy theories. And that's how the movie opens, with the opening credits as he's doing that. Yeah, it's a great movie, from what I remember. Hopefully I'm not out of line there. I haven't seen, if there's things in there that are not kosher, then forgive me in advance. But anyway, yeah, so conspiracy theory, interlinked with a self-proclaimed label of open-minded, any statistically vetted or peer-reviewed facts that logically contradict mass media's propagated schemas or constructs, the collective psyche worldwide, which a lot of people give me a lot of flack for using that label, must emotionally be admonished and ignored. And that's, yeah, that's basically the approach. When people say, well, that's a conspiracy theory. In my experiences, it's people that are having their reality or sense of reality challenged, and they get instantly defensive, and then they resort to the mass media instilled mass media canned argument of, well, you're just an idiot, that's a conspiracy theory, that's a lie, it's disinformation. That more recently they're using disinformation, misinformation, right? Yeah, I mean, it's quite unfortunate. Just like Yuri Bezmenov warned, the ex-KGB agent, he's, who coined the label useful idiots, which you might have heard. Yeah. So he basically was saying, you know what, it doesn't matter what you show these people once they've been brainwashed through communism. And by the way, I forgive this tangent, but by the way, I consider cell phone technology, mobile WWW, as mobile gulags. Voluntary mobile gulags is what I was calling them not too long ago. Anyway, yeah, once someone is so conditioned that, they're just beyond reproach, that no matter what you show them, they will not accept it. You can show them that an egg is white and give it to them and put it in their hands, and compare it to other white things and so on. And they'll still say whatever they're conditioned with, it's black. It doesn't matter. And as crazy as that sounds, I've put this to the test myself, and it's a reality. That's how deeply ingrained this brainwashing is. And therefore, ergo, by the way, the ultimate psychologist, if you will, that's blasphemy, but I say that in jest, Jesus Christ himself says, at some point, you got to cut off. At some point, you got to pluck out, or, you lose the entire body. Because some people are unfortunately lost. They're beyond reproach. They're unsalvageable, unfortunately. And God warns us who those might be. Those that give themselves to Satan, Allah, or mass media, Moonism. We're seeing the patterns here, the parallels. The spirit is the same. And by the way, is it really a coincidence that it's all anti-Christian?
Not really.
Yeah. And so, yeah. So, speaking of which, let's get on to religious, quote unquote religious. And this is kind of similar to what Muslims do with Allah and God. When, yeah, these mass media Moonies, these commie-Nazi pagans, use the word, quote, religious, end quote, for mass media. This is what they're suggesting. Okay? I mean, really, when they use it, we know exactly who we're talking about, right? They're talking about Christians. Not even, well, these days they might be talking about Jews, but that's a recent event. That's ever since, as you put it, I don't want to steal your thunder, but you said it earlier today. Something along the lines of, help me out here. Israel might have won the ground war, but what? How'd you put it?
Yeah, so I said Israel lost the media war.
Israel lost the media war. Yeah, they might have won the ground war or winning the ground war, but yeah, they've lost the media war.
Yeah, and the reason is because Hamas they really they literally put people in front of the fire line. They prevent them from like moving to the safe zones, and then and they build tunnels right under the houses. They store weapons there, and then the people gets bombed, and then they just rush and film, and it's like the most graphical, and that's really how they won the media war. Because with Israel, they really, one Israeli official, he said that we did release some of the footages. Eventually, they did, but they said we didn't really in the beginning because we like to give our people dignity. We don't want to spread these videos and images, and then it torments the victims and their families. And so with Muslims, they with the trickery, it never ends. And so they play that trickery game, emotional blackmailing, and that's exactly how they won the war. And despite the fact that Hamas went in and burned babies alive and raped, and it's like they say oh there's women soldiers, and it's like we're gonna rape them, and they didn't even spare the men, they even raped the men, but it's just like a lot of hatred, a lot of prejudice, that they just want to they want to torture the hell out of Jews. They want them to really suffer, not just die. And this is why Israel is not really stopping the war, because they just, what they saw on October the 7th was absolutely horrific. But that's really just explains how Hamas did end up getting Norway and Spain, and I forgot the third country, to recognize the Palestinian state, even though it's the land of Zion. It's always been, it's that sliver of land. It's supposed to be to them. But yeah, it's they somehow won the media war, and you know what? They're. When with Islamists, you remember that verse in the Quran, they deceive, and the God is Allah is the best deceiver, the best of deceivers. And so I told you this before, that image of Allah, how the personality of Allah really just end up reflecting on how they behave. So they deceive, they
Yeah.
torture, they will do everything that
Yep.
Allah does.
Yep. Muhammad and his Allah, literally an antichrist or antichrists.
Yeah, I told this to a Muslim and they didn't really like it. I told them they were mocking Christians and they say, oh, you worship three gods, and I said, you worship two gods. I mean, we don't really worship three gods, we worship one. You just really don't. It's not that they don't understand the Trinity. It's that they don't want to understand the Trinity.
Right. Exactly.
It's just a forced narrative. The forced idea that whatever, it doesn't matter whatever you tell me, I understand it the way it is. But anyway, so I told them, they got pissed off. I told them, you actually worship Muhammad and you worship Allah. And no, I don't do that. And I said, what is the sentence that you use to enter Islam? And it's Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa anna Muhammad Rasulullah. There is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is the final prophet. So why does salvation depend on the acknowledgement of Allah and a person? Two people. This and this and this. You have to acknowledge both of them. And at the same time, in 5 times a day, when you pray, you actually pray to Muhammad. So it's total BS. We don't worship him. They definitely worship him. They just they're just in denial.
Exactly. Denial is a good word. So mass media Moonies or common Nazi pagans, or as we say, the left, for sake of word conservation there. They're doing the same thing there. They're using the word religious again to denote Christians, and now as we're demonstrating, Jews, because now Jews are under siege by the same people that have been defending them. So, but all other, let's just let me just read it. Emphatically rejecting the validity of documented and experiential phenomena. I can't even read my own wording there. Particularly that of Christianity or Jesus Christ, while using a misinformed moniker suggesting all models of worship and beliefs are identical. Okay. But concurrently sponsoring concepts and practices such as karma, yoga, empty meditation, and belief in good or bad luck, while likewise demanding solidarity, quote unquote, solidarity solely for Islam, the followers of the Antichrist or an Antichrist only. Okay, so yeah, I mean, that pretty much covers it. No, I mean, it's basically, yeah, if you're religious, it's bad. But when they say that, of course, you're talking about Christianity. Meanwhile, they're invoking karma. Oh, you got to do things so you can get your karma, so you come back as a mastodon and not an ant. Yeah. So, I mean, come on, man. And then all these other things. And by the way, this whole Bali thing. I mean, that's catching on even in Greece. Like, they've really been pushing this Bali worship thing. Like, the throwing the colors on each other. I mean, just everything pagan is being pushed and is cool.
I've seen, by the way, there is like a lot of Europeans that I've seen. They, especially like in Switzerland, or the Viking sort of come to these Viking Iceland. There is this idea that return to your roots. Abandon Christianity, abandon basically the faith in one God. that in favor of the roots pagan faiths. And it's like, well, these pagan faiths, they didn't really build the Western civilizations. Christianity did. So yeah, best of luck. Go. It's the same thing with the globalism experiment, especially when they did it, with absolutely no regard for the welfare of their own people. It's the same thing, but yeah, I lost the train of thought.
Don't you hate when that happens? Sorry, I
Yeah.
might have threw you off with that thing, but
Yeah,
all right,
you infected me.
sorry. So now that I did that, so Returning to Innocence is turn of the century, I guess in the 90s, song that was really, really popular and all over the place. It basically has the chanting of a witch doctor, a Native American Indian witch doctor. It's like, forgive my singing here. I'm not going to play it, but it's like, oh, yeah, 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 yeah. So,
Yeah.
and then the refrain is return to innocence. And I mean, the whole time the witch doctor's going, yeah, yeah, yeah. What? I mean, let's pause for a moment. Let's let that sink in. So, mass media's idea that they've pushed and adopted of returning to innocence, quote unquote, is to go to paganism, like you also suggested, and that's what they've been pushing. A return to innocence, a return to culture, a return to traditionalism is paganism.
Yeah. It's basically abandon Christianity, and that's going back to what Justin Trudeau did when he allowed suicide, voluntarily suicide. It's like
Euthanasia.
what are you?
Yeah.
Euthanasia. Yeah. So what sort of values are you trying to push? What are you trying to build? And it's just it's pagan. It's what I don't know what it is. Well, must be pagan because Christianity. Well, even Islam, tells. I mean, Islam kind of tells you to kill yourself when it tells you to go do jihad.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, Christianity and Judaism, no, they put a value. They put a value on life, actually.
Judaism actually, again, and forgive me for jumping on, but Judaism actually put an end to that with the example that Muslims and others, and atheists, militant atheists, and anti-Christian, all the anti-Christians, and their backwardness, they want to use the example of Abraham and Isaac as well. You know what? It's human sacrifice. When it's no, actually, God jumps in and stops the human sacrifice. That's the whole point.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So
it's actually interesting. So I was talking to a Christian person before I became Christian, when I was Muslim, and no, actually, it was the time when I was atheist, and I was at that time like very anti-religion, and all of them Abrahamic religions, they all suck. And they're all the same, and just it was the mentality. And I said that the story of Abraham, when he was asked to sacrifice Isaac, I said, yeah, it's like God asking you something crazy, and as to kill your children, and because in Islam, what is the lesson? What is the lesson from the story? Of course, they have Ishmael instead of Isaac. But what is the lesson from the story? Is that Ishmael in the Islamic story accepted? He was so obedient to his father. Okay, so that's the lesson they derive. He was so obedient to his father that even when his father wanted to kill him, he was like, yeah, take my life, and they say, oh, look at that, you know. And the funny thing is, my mother used to use that sort of stuff to kind of torment me, you know. And it's like, yeah, you should suck it up and not say anything back, you know, because you know, you need to be an obedient child. So when I spoke to the Christian guy, he said, no, that's not really the lesson here. The lesson that we have is that God wanted to put an end to human sacrifice, which is what you said. And so it was because pagans, everyone, they, you know, even the natives in South America and North America, I forgot their name.
The Incans, the Aztecs, the Mayans, they all did human sacrifice.
Mayans, yeah, the Mayans. So
the Egyptians, I mean, the list goes on and on.
Yeah, the Aztecs, especially the Aztecs, they used to sacrifice every single day, like a few tens of people. They used to sacrifice them. So yeah, that story, he said, that story was how God wanted to teach humanity that no more human sacrifice. You shouldn't do that. And so he wanted Abraham to take that leap of faith, but he was not going to let his son die. But yeah, it was and I thought, wow, that's really strange. You know, the way they framed the story, in Islam, they twisted, they made it just absolutely god awful, and it actually encourages. So in Saudi Arabia, you know, sometimes this honor killing happens because parents felt that they had the right, as Abraham, to kill their children. Imagine, you know. So it's really a satanic. It's a really satanic death cult. Because yeah, even a nice story like that story is that has a lesson, that has some sort of moral to it, is twisted in a way that to permit great evil.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So again, speaking of twisting, again, we see here in this song and this notion that we see through other media being pushed, this idea of, well, returning to innocence is returning to these pagan cultures, but not Christianity. Christianity is bad. Innocence, when they're pushing you towards, with Islam, for example, you know, show solidarity with Islam, where's the innocence? What do they mean by innocence there? Maybe the innocence of the victims that have bought into that rhetoric, unfortunately. That's the only innocence there. The children, when they're first born, and unfortunately at an early age, I mean, they're even putting. Mary Hart was saying recently how they're putting the head coverings on little babies. On the thumbnail, you see a little girl in a library reading, you know, wearing a head covering, being turned into a sex object. God, breathe. Sorry. I mean, what is going on, people? What is going on? How in the world can you justify that? Never mind, allow it. And speaking of pagan, that's a whole other thing that we didn't even touch upon, is the whole pedophilia thing. But
by the way, it's pedophilia is also permitted in Hinduism, but with Hinduism they sort of reformed. The India has like age limits and all of that. It's illegal. But with Islam, they just refuse to adapt. They refuse to change. I mean, okay, your religion is false anyway, you know, but I don't really care. I just care about little girls, you know, that they're not supposed to suffer. You know, they're not supposed to die giving birth just because the bodies are not ready for pregnancy. Because so yeah, if your religion sucks, maybe kind of fix it, but don't make it other people's problem. Fix, adapt or go extinct.
Yeah, and that's sorry. Go ahead.
But yeah, I mean, with Islam, it's either they will fix themselves, they become maybe Sufis or something like that. But yeah, if they continue on the current the way it is right now, I believe very soon Europe will just follow on the footsteps of Poland. They will just ban every single Muslim, just mass deportation. And it's like, yeah, well, if you refuse to, if you really refuse to become civilized and join the 21st century, then you know what, your faith is just gonna disappear.
Yeah. I just going back to young girls' bodies. Not who was it? I mean, it really was it you guys who touched on the up to younger than age 15? Oh yeah, it was.
Yeah,
It was
younger than 16 is there is like a 50% death rate.
Yeah, so I mean, he said the statistic was 1 out of 6 girls, and I can't name the country, but he mentioned
and
yesterday.
1 in 6 in Pakistan. Yeah, 1 in 6 girls
were
Yeah.
younger than 15 people, younger than 15. So the Hadith. Aisha complains that her mother force-fed her cucumbers to prepare for muta, marriage. What? I don't know. Pedophilia for Mohammed. So what is this? Feeding cucumbers? I mean, so that's the interpretation. You're feeding cucumbers to fatten up a little girl. Does that make sense to you guys, or is there another interpretation to be understood by that?
I feel like she was trying to get her to get used to the size or something.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I hate to say it, but and then that's vulgar and disgusting. But so is Muhammad. And
yeah, I know. There is no way to be polite when you talk about what that guy did. It's just absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, so let's move on. Religious, we somewhat covered that. There's a lot to be said there. But social distancing, we also talked about that, which it's oxymoronic. There was nothing social about the distancing, especially at 6 feet, the magic number. And again, at this point, what else needs to be said? How can anyone deny that mass media completely controls all of society to an extreme degree? But people still do it. People still call me a conspiracy theorist. People even in the circles, they have a good laugh at it. They get mad at me for bringing it up. They'll do anything they can do to try to discredit me. It's disgusting. Let me be frank. Those who do that, shame on you. Let me be frank. Shame on you. Stop it. If you love God, then stop worrying about your likes, your followers, your income, or whatever it is that's making you behave that way, and speak the truth about mass media. The greatest plague of the 21st century and 20th, by the way.
I mean, if you look at how Hamas actually was able to win the media wars because of mass media, how it allowed for the propaganda, for the manipulation to sort of create this trend, and the trend was Jew hatred, was and at the moment it became trend, the moment it became acceptable, we suddenly forgot about World War II. We forgot about what happened, and it's like the Jews don't really have to keep bringing up the Holocaust. As long as you stop actually saying Jews ate my homework every time you step your toe. And but yeah, they don't really have to bring it up. But if you keep attacking them, if then they will tell you, like we have this experience, and we really would like to kind of not push the limits, of Jew hatred, which was always there. But yeah, it's the mass media certainly did something in this time and age, and we see it. The every trend, every trend comes up, and just people just go follow blindly, and there is no independence of thought. There is, and it's just a huge echo chamber.
Right. Well said. Good one. Yeah. And again, I think the greatest example of that was the lockdown. How we all, whether we felt forced or not, whether we policed our neighbor or not, we at the very least policed ourselves. And how was that done? Did some kind of authority figure show up at our door and make sure we're doing all these things that they're telling us? Through media? Through media, they controlled us 24/7 for not only weeks, not only 2 weeks to flatten the curve, quote unquote, but for years.
Nicodemus, I by the way, I have to go like in 20 minutes.
Okay. All right. Thanks for the heads up. Let me just show this real clip. Again,
Okay.
this.
Attention, Axiom shoppers. Try blue. It's the new red.
Okay. The click of a button, the entire world all of a sudden became, well, it wasn't all of a sudden. It was actually years in the making. In America, we were doing the whole sanitizer thing years in advance. Don't touch a doorknob, don't touch this, don't touch that, or you're going to die. And the virologist said, what are you talking about? You have to be exposed to germs. That's part of the T cell makeup. Your immune system relies on you being exposed to germs so they can build antibodies for them. You're not the boy in the bubble, but that's what they made us. They made us all the boys in the bubble. 1970s TV movie, John Travolta. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Well, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I'm trying not to go on too many rants here, but enough can't be said, especially after the lockdown, when like it or not, we were forced on the internet. We had in Europe, you had to have your vax pass, and applying for a job. They were asking all kinds of things, for having to have a cell phone years in advance. As far as the Chinese go, promoting germophobia, they were coming to Europe with their muzzles on years before the lockdown. Yeah, and still do it. I mean, you watch all these things online, and they make it a point to always include a clip featuring someone that's still muzzled, right? To make sure they've got that ingrained in your subconscious that is still an issue, while hiding all these court cases and government pursuits of holding people accountable that did all this malicious stuff. Yeah, I'm going off another tangent there with that stuff. But all right, so let's get refocused. Let's take this conversation back to Islam, if you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So you mentioned something to me yesterday. Yeah, first of all, Abrahamic religions. Anyone with half a brain knows that's a mass media coined term. There's nothing Abrahamic about Islam.
It's like how Bush coined Islam as the religion of peace. It's the same thing. It's a coined media term, just to serve a political purpose. And so it's for Muslims. It's a way to get into to infiltrate. It's a way to it's like, hey, we're the same. Yeah, we're not really the same. You actually think I'm an infidel and a kafir and a mushrik, basically you call Christians polytheists, and they say the same thing about Jews. They also think Jews are polytheists, and it's like, yeah, no, we're not really the same. It's a way of just infiltrating, and then once they get close, and then then the forcing of religion begins.
Yeah. So let me just, so the audience knows, this is a picture I took myself when I was volunteering at that border crossing I was telling you about. We literally had chains of buses nonstop coming in, the ferries and so on and so forth. This was in Greece, what I call the front lines of this mass migration. Turkey was a facilitator of it, and they were exploiter of it too.
Yeah,
Anyway.
many Turkish sailors, they used to run these boats, help people cross, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's part of, it's you might call it a conspiracy theory, because it is kind of, because there is not enough evidence, but at the same time there's some indications that, because Erdogan, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, the Turkish Islamist president, he's used to visit the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, and the moment the Muslim Brotherhood guy was elected, Morsi, after Hosni Mubarak stepped down, he basically made an alliance with him, and he was very angry that Sisi came and he just removed Morsi, and he arrested him right away, and it really ruined the plans that Egypt had. If actually the Muslim Brotherhood remained in charge of Egypt, Egypt would have been in war with Israel today. Along with Iran, Lebanon, and Syria, so that they would have joined the war as well, and Yemen. But yeah, thank God Morsi was removed with the help of the Saudis and the UAE and America, the US as well. But yeah, so what happened? What was going on is Recep Tayyip Erdogan wanted to take control of the Muslim League, the Muslim League of Nations. Why? Yeah, so it's about 53 countries, and the reason was because he wanted to resurrect the Ottoman Empire. So this is an evidence. This is actually true. That Erdogan had a caliphate agenda. So this is where the conspiracy theory. I think that Turkey facilitated the migration of all those radical Muslims to the West, because this is the continuation of the European of the invasion of Europe. You see, because the Ottomans they failed at they didn't succeed in conquering Europe, and then I think they had a diabolical idea where, we'll exploit the fact that Europeans are really nice, stupidly nice, and accepting, and liberal, and all of that. And we're going to start exporting these Islamists, and they will radicalize the Muslims that are in there, and we'll keep just supplying them with Muslims until they reach a critical mass where they can actually interfere in decision making. They start holding political office. knowing how Erdogan is, I think this conspiracy theory is very likely, because just the fact that he has caliphate ambitions tells me that he might have a hand in well, he has a hand in the 7th of October. He has a hand in propagating Muslim propaganda, and oh, Islam is tolerant. Islam, don't insult our prophet. We'll chop your head, and all of this BS. Erdogan really appeals to many people in the Muslim world, and they try to weaponize. They try to weaponize the Palestinian cause. They claim that it's Islamic. So this I published on TikTok. There is a video, and it was about this. I'll send it to you later.
Okay.
It was this sheikh. So Macron.
Well, can I jump in before?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Don't lose your thought, though. I want to go back and say that. Well, first, let me just say that Patriotic Christian just messaged me. So anyone who's wondering, he made it out okay of the rally today. So that's good news.
Thank God.
Yeah, so we'll hear more about that when he's done uploading. I believe he said he's streaming tomorrow, so check that out. Also, as far as what you've been touching on, as far as the Muslim propaganda, we had a discussion, and that's my belief that in all, BRICS has taken over mass media. It might not be complete, but it's definitely dominating. But also, yeah, to that effect, not NPR. I'm sorry. I forgot the name of the guy now. He recently, anyways. So there was an undercover investigation. It's in the video that I just shared in the link. Why does mass media support Islam? Something to that effect, or how does it do it? Yeah. So basically, they went in there to NPR. They went there pretending to be a fundraising front for Islam, and it made it obvious that they were, they were being funded by terrorists without saying the word terrorist. Anyway, at any rate, so and then they were insisting that, well, not insisting, but they were asking if NPR will publish the messaging that they want, depending on how much money they give them, and NPR, in fact, agreed to it. Even good.
Did you know that? Just make a guess. So after 9/11, the United States did a study. They did an investigation into the funding of Al Qaeda. Okay, so guess where did the money Al Qaeda had? Where did the money come from? From different people. Different people. So guess how many? Which countries?
Oh, which countries? I thought you were talking about America and CAIR, CAIR. Which countries?
Yeah.
UK.
Yes, good one.
Okay, great.
So basically, Muslims, the Pakistani Muslims, they did all the fundraising, and it was coming. Yeah, there was a lot of money coming from UK. Good.
And
what else?
US, the US.
No, not at that time.
Okay.
So there is. I'll just tell you the rest. So there is Germany.
I was going to say Germany next. Oh man, you beat me to it.
Yeah. So there is Germany. There is France, and Egypt, and Saudi Arabia. But so most of these countries, it was not government funded. So the government of Saudi Arabia did not send money. What they concluded in the reports was there were fundraising, and the people who were doing the fundraising, they didn't really disclose What was the money for? They just said charity. You see? So that's the thing, these radical Islamists, they are the head of the snake, that, like it or not. And even if if you're a stupid Muslim and you give money without thinking, to terrorist organization, just like how Westerners right now are giving money to Hamas. It's the same thing. And so if this is on you. Your stupidity is on you. You're supposed to be doing your due diligence. You're supposed to be digging. You're not supposed to be just trusting flat out, without any sort of skepticism. But yeah, so this is this is what happened, that European countries were involved in the funding of 9/11. So it's messed up, and it's just because you should have.
I ain't no thief. I'm an honest hoe, and all my hoes is honest.
Does that sum it up?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, sorry, that was a bit abrupt, but I wanted to get it in there. Let me try it again, just so in case you missed it.
I ain't no thief. I'm an honest hoe, and all my hoes is honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That about sums up what you just described.
Yeah.
Honor amongst thieves is how mass media pushes it.
Yeah. And they should have woke. 9/11 should have the wake up call, but these elites. I don't know if, and that's another conspiracy theory. Were they involved? Were any Western leaders involved, like George Bush, like Merkel in Germany? Were any of these dumbasses involved?
Well,
were they? So either they were involved, or they were stupid, and then it's very unlikely they're not stupid. Yeah, so there is.
Sorry, go ahead.
But yeah, Bush could have ensured the safety of Muslims without claiming BS like Islam is the religion of peace. No. You subject, basically you start monitoring mosques, you re-educate, and it's like, it doesn't sound that great, but China did this, they had the Muslim minority that they had, but by the way, China has different Muslim minorities. So the Muslim minority, the ones who got sent to the education camps, they were oh my God, I forgot their name, but they were radicalized. They were the ISIS ideas were like getting into the community, and China they quickly. If it was Europe, Europe is already getting messed, effed. And but China acted very quickly, so they sent any radical Muslims from that minority, and like I said, there was another Muslim minority, and they never got touched. They were never sent to education camps. It was just that minority that they were rebelling. They were having these jihadi ideas. And the Chinese government intervened very quickly, and they just sent them to re-education camps. So they taught them dancing, they taught them music, culture, and it's like a forced assimilation. You don't have a choice. You're going to assimilate, whether you like it or not. And but yeah, it's you're gonna say, oh, it's human rights, blah blah blah. But with Islamists, they they will use freedom of speech. They will use all sort of liberal values, against you, and you'll be the one who's going to be sore in the end.
Yeah. So on that note, you mentioned human rights, and At 1 minute is human rights, and anyways. But let's talk about culture, right? It's
Yeah,
cultural. It's
yeah.
cultural.
Let's give the audience, some context. Uh, so this girl, she's a Western girl, and I was talking to her on Twitter, and so she says to me that in Israel there are pedophiles, and Israel is like, there's pedophiles going to Israel, and here's an article about it, and I was like, is pedophilia punished in Israel? And she didn't answer. And yeah, so she wasn't Muslim, but she was like defending. She was basically a communist, the leftist who really adore Muslims so much. And she was like, yeah, no. And I was like, no, there is a law. Look, see, there is it's severely punished. And then I asked her, do you know that 1/6 of all Pakistani girls get married before the age of 15? And her answer was, and I showed her the statistics from the UNICEF. And she was like, yeah, well, it's their culture. And I was like, so you're pissed that Israel punishes pedophiles? I mean, there's pedophiles in Israel, and well, even though they punish them, you're not satisfied. But when it comes to Muslims, they're raping, they're they're doing pedophilia legally, freaking legally, at a very young age. And I mean, I heard that there is a law that there is a law regarding age. I think it's 16 or something in Pakistan, but that law is absolutely useless. They do not enforce it at all. It's just for show, and it's intentional. It's they just want to get aid from the United States, and that's why they said, yeah, we're going to put it in the law. And it's like, what about enforcing it? No, we're not going to enforce it. And so what happens is that millions of girls get married before the age of 50, and their lives gets endangered by pregnancy. And yeah, no, they don't. It's like, yeah, it's their culture. But yeah, and I'm really sick of the anti-Semitism, and they single out, the Jewish state, and the Muslims just get a free pass to do everything.
Right.
And on top of that, they also take them in, and they also tell you, hey, accept them, accept their, accept such disgusting cultures. And yeah, I had mentioned, yesterday, this proposition that we need to do ideological tests with the help of a polygraph, and that's how you identify an Islamist.
Well,
yeah.
Unfortunately, I mean, especially if you're a sociopath, you can beat those polygraph tests. That's why a lot of courts in America don't even acknowledge those anymore.
No. You see, the thing is, this is just like a first barrier. It's like you have multiple layers of safety. So the first layer would be the ideological tests with polygraphs. So you ask questions like, are women is a woman worth the same, is woman like your equal or something, it's like the liberal ideas, it's like is and I'm not saying that they're equal in everything. I'm saying that can they if you're allowed to go to university, are they allowed also to go to university and study? It's just the equal opportunity thing. And by the way, Jordan Peterson, he's like he's a Christian, and he really believes in this equal opportunity versus equal outcome, and he emphasizes on the equal opportunities. And so the so when you say that yes, if a woman inherits, she should get the same as me, but in Islam, no, it's the woman gets half of the man. The woman testimony in court is half so to meet the same, like for example, if you're getting a testimony, either you get one man to testify or you get two women to testify. So two women are equal to one man.
The ratio is 2 to 1. I got you.
Yeah. So the ratio is 2 to 1. So you ask them, like, is the woman, you're equal? And if they say yes, the polygraph will just go crazy. Because they think that she's like half brain, half half intelligence, and half everything. So you see, very simple questions, and with if they're not sociopaths, if they're not psychopaths, it's very difficult to beat the polygraph.
But Mohammed, it's cultural. It's cultural, Mohammed.
Yeah, well, shove your culture. It's like sorry, I'm sorry about the language, but yeah, that's honestly my attitude. It's like keep it to yourself, Stay in your
But Mohammed, when you say to keep it to myself, you're not being open-minded, man. Come on, brother.
No. Sorry, Nicodemus. Yeah. But I don't know. That's exactly the logic. That's exactly the logic of the left. Why are you not being open-minded? It's their culture, and it's like Europe is burning down because of these dumbasses.
Yeah, it's unfortunately. That was the agenda. It became evident to me after a few months, actually, that these Muslims were being brought in, disgruntled, no less. They were made disgruntled along the way, if they weren't already disgruntled. And basically, I could tell Germany, which is why I was going to guess Germany. Germany was propping them and paying them, along with the United Nations, facilitating all this, so they can be the new Gestapo. Why? Because Europe had become not liberal, but Christian. They've become loving. As you say, they're not stupid for accepting them. They're being Christian for accepting them. They're giving them an opportunity to convert. Forgive me for putting it like this, but you're one of many examples of that, of people that make a trek and come to Christ.
But I'll tell you something. The difference between me and some of the Islamists who gets accepted into Europe, since day one, I adopted the Western culture full-heartedly. That I was getting criticized by Muslims, in Canada. So the thing is that, if you come here and then you accept the Western culture, then fine, you're all good. But you come here to convert Christians, to force your religion, to buy churches. If you have seen they desecrated, they bought a very old church in the UK, and they desecrated all the graves, and they digged all the grave, removed all the tombstones, and they were like ancient from World War I. And it's like it's just really a shame, And I told my father this before, and he kind of agreed with me. And I told him when the Mosque of Christ, which was like it was a church converted to a mosque in New Zealand, and then this gunman came in and he sprayed 50 Muslims. He killed 50 Muslims. And I told my father, I told him, why the hell did they buy a church what are they doing? It's an intentional provocation. It's a show of dominance. It's a show of dominance, and it's like, well, you know what? They keep doing this BS, and you know what? People are not going to put up with it, and you're going to have radicals. They're just gonna do the same thing, and you know what? They're gonna only have themselves to blame, because like, you can buy any shit house and convert it to a mosque, build a mosque. Why take a church? But it's literally, yes, I am humiliating you and your religion. That's why I'm taking your church.
Yeah. So, what about those who would respond with, "You have your religion, I have mine"? What?
Yeah,
what
I mean, yeah. So Prophet, and let's end very soon.
Okay.
Get to the let's finish this topic, and we'll go to the prayer, and then we'll end it here.
Okay.
So lakum dinukum waliya din. You have your religion and I have mine. So this is Muhammad doing what Muslims do nowadays. When they are in a position of weakness, you have your religion and I have mine. And that's what Muhammad did in Mecca before he immigrated to Medina and built an army. He used to say that, you have your religion and you have mine, and not there's no forcing in the religion. And then once he moved to Medina and he established an army, then he goes and says, I was ordered to spread Islam until every person on earth testifies that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is the final prophet. And so it then kill those who do not believe. The Christian and the Jews are not your friends. And it's just like a hostility after hostility. And it's like all the, it was, you have your religion, I have mine. And then it just turns into, he turns into an absolute tyrant. And that's really what awaits Europe if they do not do what China did. Either mass deport, engage like in education camps, just like completely stop the flood of migrants at the moment until you can deal with what you have and neutralize the threat. So if you don't act fast, this is exactly what's going to happen. You have a textbook Muhammad behavior. This is what he did. This is what they're going to do. And if you think otherwise, you are stupid. I'm sorry.
Or evil. I don't know. I mean, I don't think they're stupid. And they're anything but stupid. They've murdered. In fact, we've talked about this ad nauseum about how Christian civilizations have civilized the entire world, as offensive as media has made that seem. But yeah, and then the leaders of those nations, they got in those positions not by being stupid, anything but. We're not smarter than them. Some of us might be. Some of us might have like a IQ of 180, if that's a thing. But right. So, but otherwise, let's not excuse their vileness, their oneness, malice, and hypocrisy by calling them dumb. They're not. They're not dumb. They know what they're doing, and it's been pre-planned. It's been integrated. It's been so for years now. This is what I've been doing. I've been combating their messaging. They've been normalizing this stuff years, literally decades in advance. If you look at all the pro-Islamic media going back all the way from the 50s, 60s, from the very beginning, we did a stream on the Sheikh from 1923, which Yeah, if you look at it, yeah, you can say it shows both sides. But at the end of the day, it was a piece. It was actually done not by Jews, but by Freemasons, and Freemasons made it viral back then, 1923, by making it controversial. And so, you know what people do when something's controversial, this is the Pandora's box. They got to go see what's up. So yeah, it was the most popular movie back then, and it was the one that made full feature films a thing. The Sheik. At any at any rate, it portrays this slave driver as this romantic hero and this wonderful person at the end, and you sympathize with them. And I mean, it's just it's a very poor taste. But
Propaganda.
yeah,
Yeah.
but that's again at the very beginning of Hollywood, 1923.
Wow.
Again, and the list goes on. The 1001 Arabian Nights tales. You know, the genie, the I Dream of Genie TV series from the 50s, which was very popular. They did a movie and remake of
Yeah.
that.
I read 1001 Arabian Nights, by the way. It's a
Yeah.
very large book.
And so we get Aladdin, Alibaba. You know, like what's the other one? I'm forgetting one. But yeah, I mean, there's three major stories that are very popular and are promoted throughout media. And these are just, and that, again, these are just two examples I gave you. I mean, the list literally goes on. So what we've been experiencing this decade, the 20 teens and on, is not a normalization, but actually implementation, as you can see in this picture.
Mm.
An activation of what they've already been pushing for and conditioning us towards for generations now.
Yeah. Another thing that I think should be done is that when the migrants that you let in, they need to be on probation. If
Yeah.
not just Muslims, anywhere, you should. But liberals really, they don't really care about preserving. Japanese, for example, they care about preserving. That's why they don't give a citizenship to anyone who's not born Japanese. So they, the thing is that, you need to make it absolutely clear that you're not to challenge the values of the society. You're not to belittle the allies of the nation, the symbol of the nation. You're not to belittle them because, it's basically it's an ethnic cleansing that's only applied to this forced multiculturalism is only forced on Christianity. But if you actually go to start,
man, you're sounding like an Islamophobe right now. I can't take it. Right? You're being Islamophobic, right? Anyway, it's the religion of peace. I mean, show some solidarity, man. Come on.
Yeah. It's just too insensitive. Oh my God.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, it's like you really need to set rules and you're make sure to adhere to the rules. If you don't, then you are subjected to deportation and with no further questioning. There is no appeal. You break the rules, you commit a crime. That's it. Bye bye. And this zero tolerance to it helped make Saudi Arabia very safe because of this zero tolerance to any BS from from foreigners in general. That they will give you a citizenship if you work hard. And it's the same thing in Russia. It's the same thing in everywhere. But I mean, but with Western Europe, because they were Christian countries, they and they were just manipulated by the liberals. There is this plan, and I really believe it. There is this plan to really erase the European culture, to erase the Christian values, and I salute patriotic Christian for going up there today. It's it needs to be done. There needs they need to really hold more events. They need to stay, keep it loud, because these all these liberals, they care about is votes. So once you actually threat them to remove them, they will start to comply more. But anyway, they will get removed anyway because people are done with them. But yeah, I really have to go right now. So let's wrap it up.
Yeah.
And
yeah, absolutely. We didn't get to share all those things that you shared with me earlier, but I mean, we can do a future stream. I love the fact that you have some psychology background, so you can analyze things and on a deep psychological level. I appreciate that a lot. You're very knowledgeable with Islam. You're well spoken. Also, you are, you're articulate. I just can ask one question, and you're ready to go.
Yeah, absolutely
prepared. But you know what I love the best about you?
Yeah,
is that you agree with me. That's awesome. You agree with most everything I say. So you're welcome back anytime you want because you agree.
Yeah, of course. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So,
okay, you wanna pray first?
Yeah, let's do this. Okay. Again, the audience, thank you for being here. Leave your comments for those that weren't able to make it live. Give us some feedback, support. Prayers for Mohammed, Aurelius, for SyrianSeeker, for Patriotic Christian. And you can support me. Forgive me for shilling right now. Bad moment, but I feel obligated to do it. I'm in that kind of situation. If you can support purchase of a new computer as this one is dying, I'd greatly appreciate it. If you cannot, maybe blessed. Your prayers are also appreciated. Would you like to start us off? We're going to do the Lord's Prayer in 3 languages today.
Absolutely. Okay, I start?
Or I could do it in Greek, then you could do it in Arabic, and I'll do it in English. You want to do it that way?
Good. Sounds good.
Okay.
Do it.
All right. Πάτερ ημών, ο εν της ουρανής, αηστήτω το όνομά σου, εθέτω η βασιλεία σου, γεννηθήτω το θέλημά σου ως ουρανό και επί της γης. Τον άτομο ημών των επίσιων δώσιμεν σήμερον, και άφησιν το οφλήματα ημών ως και εμείς αφήμεν τους φυλάτους ημών. Και εμείς ενέγγιζε μας υπερισμών, αλλά λύσει εμάς από το πονηρό. Εν ονόματι Πατρί και Υιό και Αγίου Πνεύματι, και νυν και αΐν και εις αιώνας των αιώνων. Αμήν.
Amen. Okay, so my turn. أبانا الذي في السماوات ليتقدس اسمك ليأتي ملكوتك لتكن مشيئتك كما في السماء كذلك على الأرض خبزنا الذي للغد أعطنا اليوم واغفر لنا ذنوبنا كما نغفر نحن أيضا للمذنبين إلينا ولا تدخلنا في تجربة لكن نجنا من الشرير بالمسيح يسوع ربنا. Amen.
Beautiful, thank you. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, both now and ever, to the ages of ages. Amen. Thank you again for being here with us. I really appreciate you. And again, you're welcome here anytime you want.
Yeah, of course. Okay. All right, Nicodemus. Talk to you
later.
Yeah. No, I was just saying talk to you later.
Yes. And with that, I'm going to close with our usual little old intro outro.